Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm reacting to Sadhguru at Sophia College, Youth and Truth Talk. Finally going back to this. Anyways, let's go ahead and get started. I did skip a little bit at the beginning though.
I want to see some more life with yes? Okay, please.
Oh, okay, I was about to ask a question. It's right there down on the bottom, right there. Sophia College for Women. It's like, I see all women panel, then hearing the screams, like, so far it sounds like all women. Is it an all women college? Yep, right there it is.
With your permission, Sadhguru, we'll begin with our question answer session. My first question is,
before she asks her first question, I am curious as to what kind of questions do women in India have, or at least in this college have. Maybe just specifically this college so far.
how do we become more inclusive of diversity in the society? For instance, the northeast of India, if you see, is completely ignored. It's a fragment, it's been pushed out of this country. I mean, a lot of people, they don't even know what the 7 states of Northeast are, or how the people are, or what their identity is. So how can we, as the youth, or all of us, change this? How do we become more inclusive? Because if you see, ignorance eventually leads to intolerance and communal problems and violence. So how do we become more inclusive of diversity today?
I'm starting to hate the word inclusive, but it's because it's so terribly used in America. But under the generally good intentions behind that word is to I don't know what you mean by inclusive though. Like, they don't know the 7 states. That's fine, so long as you know people exist over there. I mean, again, it's not like, is it they're not being included in colleges or something, or are they not being represented in the states? You know, I guess because I don't know exactly the question. I would say, if you want them to be more involved, go over there, teach them, like, hey, you know, you have to come to this area to vote. If you want to know what's going on in the country, here's the websites, or here's the resources needed to be involved in the country. Or say, hey, you know, there's programs in these schools that have scholarships for people who are, you know, have these criterias that if you meet them, you can actually go to college for free, and it'll be paid for or whatever. You know, I don't know what the problem is. Inclusion doesn't necessarily mean there's a problem. Maybe they don't want to be included in certain things that they're presenting, but are included in other things, you know. So I don't know exactly what they're not being included in, and if they want to be included into that, you know. Again, the question is something probably what they know, so that's my best guess and answer to that. And hopefully it's a little bit more of a, not so much a generic answer, but I guess it's a kind of a generic answer.
Can I tell you a joke?
Oh boy.
Are you okay? Can I? Some of you because some of you are looking so serious, I'm seeking permission. Joshua Goldberg was a Vietnam veteran in America, in New York City. One day, he ordered for pizza, and a Chinese boy came to deliver the pizza. He took the pizza, paid him the money, and punched him in the face. So the boy fell down backwards. Then he got up with a bloody nose and he said, "Why did you do that?" He said, "That's for Vietnam." He said, "I am not Vietnamese, I'm Chinese." So Joshua Goldberg said, "Chinese, Vietnamese, Japanese, they're all same to me." So the boy gathered himself and went. Later on, after having eaten his pizza, he was taking his bull mastiff for a walk. There's a law in New York City, if your dog poops, you have to pick it up.
I do wonder if this story is true. It could very well be possibly true, or it could be another one of Sadhguru's just stories that he made up that are still have a meaning behind it.
So his dog pooped on the street. He bent down to pick it up. The Chinese boy came from behind and kicked him in his backside. So he went down, face down on the dog poop. Then he got up and asked, "You idiot, why did you do this to me?" The boy said, "That's for Titanic." Said, "You idiot, what do I have to do with Titanic?" Goldberg, Spielberg, iceberg, they're all same to me.
That's hard. I mean, I laugh so hard, but that was…
So, every difference that we have, you and me look different, we are not able to enjoy the difference. We make every difference into a discriminatory process. Unfortunately, this has become the way of the world. Race, religion, nationality, ethnicity, you name it. If there's nothing else, we'll find something which doesn't exist.
And this is kind of the sad truth about what me and my friend discuss, is the fact that even if we get rid of religion, there'll be another thing that we'll complain about. So it's not the religion's the problem, obviously. But also, for me, differences is just another way of discovering something I never knew, generally speaking. So if someone comes from a different country that I've never heard of before, it'd be pretty cool to ask them what the country's like, because curiosity, and it should be a positive thing, because I want to know more about, where he came from, or what they do over there, and maybe a nice place to visit or whatever.
Goldsmith, blacksmith, all kinds of distinctions, endless. What is the solution? See, when we sit here, this is my body, that's your body. No way to mix these two things up. That is yours, this is mine. That's one kind, this is another kind. This is my mind, that's your mind. No way to mix it up. This is one kind, that's another kind. If you're identified only with your body, you will naturally always look at me as something different. If you're identified with your thought process, you'll always see me as something very different. But there is no such thing as my life and your life. This life is same. This body can never be the same. This mind will never be the same. But this is a living cosmos. I captured this much life, you captured that much life, that's all. It's like, did you girls blow soap bubbles when you were younger, or you still do? Still blowing bubbles? Now, if you blew your bubble came this big, my bubble came this big. Oh, big bubble, small bubble, but poop it went. Now we are not saying this is my air, this is your air, isn't it? Yes or no? Fundamental life process, the identity with fundamental life process has not happened. We've gotten identified with the surface. The moment you identified with your body, you're a female, I'm a male. Gender is acting like two separate species in the world right now. Yes? Gender, badly people need each other. In spite of that, they're acting like they're separate species. Every small thing that is said, boom, it blows up because we are too much identified either with our body or with our thought process, our beliefs, ideologies. What we need is a deeper identity. Can I take a couple of minutes? In yoga, we look at human mind as 16 parts. We can make this into 4 categories. These 4 dimensions of mind are referred to as buddhi, ahankara, manas and chitta. Buddhi means the intellect. Your intellect, do you want it sharp or dull? You must choose right now, I'm going to bless you. Sharp. So it's a cutting instrument. It's like a knife. Knife should be used for certain things only. If you use knife to do everything, then none of you girls are like this, I'm just looking for one of you. If you suppose use a knife to stitch a cloth, it'll be in tatters. Sometimes I'm wondering these days, your denims, maybe you're using a knife to stitch. And not you, you're good. So you cannot use a knife for everything, only for dissection you can use a knife. You cannot use a knife for everything. Right now, our education systems have become such, they're purely intellectual. The other dimensions of human intelligence are not even explored. Everything is intellectual. So all we are doing is dissect things, dissect things, dissect things. With this we will know certain things. Suppose I really want to know you, shall I dissect you? If I dissect you, I will know the condition of your heart, liver, kidney, spleen, everything, but you will be gone. Maybe by embracing you I may know you, but by dissecting you I will not know you, isn't it? This is what we are doing with intellect. We are constantly trying to dissect everything because our entire education system is focused just on the intellect. The next dimension is called ahankara. People generally think ahankara means ego. No, ahankara means identity. Depending upon what you're identified with, accordingly your intellect will function that way. Today tell yourself, I'm a woman, I'm a woman, I'm a woman. You will see your intellect functions just for that. You tell yourself, I'm Indian, 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 it will work just for that. Yes or no? You just see the moment you're identified with something, what you're identified with always looks right, something else always looks wrong, isn't it? So this is the nature of the intellect. What is the identity? Accordingly it functions. So in this culture, we had a system, before we start education for a child, first thing is, he must say, aham brahmasmi. This means, my identity is with the universe. You must establish a larger identity before you empower somebody with education, because education is empowerment. If you empower somebody with narrow identity, they will do something else. See, right now what is science and technology doing? The cutting-edge science is all going to military use, isn't it? The most horrible things that have been done on the planet have been empowered by science and technology, unfortunately. The greatest gifts that we have turned against us simply because of our small identity. I am India or I am Pakistan, I am this or that, endlessly it is going on.
I wanted to pause a little bit sooner, but I figured this was a good place to stop. So I kind of get this part, although maybe I don't identify as like the whole universe, but this is something similar that I do, that I see someone as a human first, before seeing anything else. So that way, it's a little bit similar, maybe a little bit on a smaller scale. Again, seeing someone as human first before seeing them as their nationality, their skin color, their gender, or whatever else. I mean, you can disagree with someone and still care for someone because you see them as a human first, and then make sure that them as humans are taken care of and well off, and then you can disagree with their point of views. Another thing I was going to say is that for me, it's okay to see differences, or I can't remember what the other word he said, but differences, but not in a negative sense. Like, to me, I see differences as, in a sense, curiosity, curious to know. But I guess maybe if I look at it in terms of differences as differences of opinions, then we can discuss things. But I guess sometimes we can't always agree. But I always, generally speaking, see differences as something to learn, curious, to obtain knowledge. So it's no longer, how to say, I won't say it's not a difference anymore, but it's no longer, the difference is not a curiosity, but I will no longer, in a sense, see it as a difference because it's something that I know already. It's not an unknown difference, it's a known difference, I suppose. Making this up as I go along here, but it's just that I don't see it as a negative way either. Whatever, it's unknown or known. It's always unknown would be curiosity, and known would be I know I'm comfortable with it. It's a difference, so what?
It is just a narrow identity which makes a human being absolutely dangerous. You can call it crime, you can call it evil, you can call it genocide. Essentially, it's limited identity, isn't it? So one fundamental thing that we need to do in our education systems is that everybody has a limitless identity. Identify at least with the world, if not with the universe. If you cannot conceptualize a universe, at least your identity is global. Now the next dimension of the mind is called as manas. If you want to continue that knife ideology or analogy, knife is there, ahankara is the hand that holds it. It is the hand that holds the knife which determines whether this knife is going to save a life or take a life, isn't it so? It is not the knife which is dangerous. Every day knife is saving more lives than taking lives, isn't it so? Knives are saving lives, but in the wrong hand, it will take a life. So the hand has to be tempered, the hand has to be studied. Nothing wrong with the knife, the sharper it is, the better it is. Knife should be sharp or no? Knife should be as sharp as possible. It is the hand that holds it which makes the difference. Now this hand is connected to what is called as manas, which is a silo of memory. See, right now, you call this my body, but this is just a silo of memory. There is evolutionary memory, there is genetic memory, there is karmic memory, there's articulate and inarticulate levels of memory, conscious and unconscious levels of memory. Like this, there are many dimensions of memory. Do you remember how your great-grandmother 10 generations ago looked like? No, but her nose is sitting on your face right now. Shatakshi, I got the name right for you? Yes. See? Her nose is sitting on your face or no? Definitely. Your skin remembers the skin tone of your forefathers 1,000,000 years ago, yes or no? So this is memory. What you call as my body is 1,000,000,000,000 times more memory than what you ever can carry in your mind. So this memory is important, and how it transmits itself into the intellect depends on the identity. How you identified, accordingly this memory will play. If you identified with a limited identity, then this memory will become against everybody else. If your identity is a larger identity, then this memory functions for everybody's well-being. So the fundamental thing is, your identification has to evolve. How does your identity evolve? The fourth dimension of intelligence is referred to as Chitta. Chitta means an intelligence without an iota of memory. When we say memory, memory is a certain boundary. See, I remember these three are my friends, they're in my boundary. These people I don't remember, they're out of my boundary, isn't it so? Hello? Who is my friend, who is not my friend, who I love, who I hate, is just a question of memory, isn't it? Who is my brother, who is my sister, who is my father, who is my mother, is it just a question of memory? Memory in your mind and your genetic memory, isn't it so? It's all this memory functioning. So there is an intelligence which is beyond memory, which doesn't have an iota of memory. Where there is no memory, there is no boundary, it's a boundless intelligence. This is a living cosmos which is intelligent. It is a living intelligence of its own. Now, this dimension of intelligence also exists within us. The moment you touch this dimension of intelligence, all your limited identities will collapse. And in the yogic culture, in a very mischievous way, it is said, you must understand this in the right context, because you're looking serious, it scares me, huh? Hello?
Okay, yeah, the girl in the blue was looking serious. The girl in the blue was looking serious just a few seconds ago.
Do something to show me you're not so serious people. Because, see, suppose somebody comes and tells you, my grandmother is serious, how do you understand? She's on the way out. That's what it means if you're serious. So in the yogic culture it is said, if you touch your chitta, if you touch an intelligence beyond memory, they say, God will become your slave. Whatever you wish, it just happens for you, because you're not stuck in the framework of memory anymore, your intelligence. So, if we want an unprejudiced world, genuinely unprejudiced world, because today people who call themselves, people who seem to be fighting all the time for somebody, they are highly prejudiced too, in a different way, in a reverse way. This is not going to help. Pushing one injustice against another injustice is not an answer. It is not an answer for the well-being of this world. It is important that your experience of life is beyond the limitations of the boundaries of your memory, which means your body, your mind, your intellect, beyond that you have an experience. If your experience of life transcends the limitations of your physical nature, then we use this most corrupted word rather, a highly corrupted word called spirituality. This is what spirituality means. Spirituality doesn't mean looking up, looking down, going to heaven, no. Spiritual process means your experience of life has crossed the limitations of your physical nature. It's only because of physical body there is a clear-cut boundary between you and me, isn't it? Yes or no? Suppose you didn't have a body and I didn't have a body, we would be all over the place, isn't it? Yes or no? So, because of our identifications with physical forms, I am different, you are different. Now this difference slowly matures into discrimination. Sorry, did it answer your question?
Well, the question I'd have with that is the fact that it said that if we didn't have this body, it would be all over the place. So I don't know if Sadhguru would be meaning Brahman, as in… how do I say this? The only thing that is? I don't know how to say that. Anyway, if we're no longer bound to this body, we would be Brahman. We would all be Brahman because that is the only thing that exists. So it'd be all together, kind of like what Sadhguru is trying to explain here. I don't know if this is what he meant though, because I don't know if they know about Sadhguru's teachings. I don't know if they already have some understanding of what Brahman is, or whatever may be Sadhguru's way of explaining what Brahman is. I don't know if it's something different in his teachings or not. I don't remember if he talks about that. I know he talks about the universe as a living cosmos. I know he talks about things being grander, but I don't remember if he's ever said Brahman, as in Advaita Vedanta, with Swami Sarvapriyananda, Swami Taratmananda, maybe even Acharya Prashant. I know Acharya Prashant talks about the Atman. I think he says Brahman. If he does, he doesn't say it very often for me to remember. But yeah, I don't know if he means it that way in terms of Brahman, and I don't know if they know about it. So if I'm trying to come from their mindset and what I've heard so far. So what is this thing? If we're not the body, what is this thing that we're floating around in? You know, would we be just a soup or something? You know, I don't know how she's perceiving this. Again, I don't know if she understands Brahman or pure consciousness and all of that.
Sadhguru, how do you suggest that we appropriately question authority without being disrespectful towards them? Because from our very childhood, we've been taught to obey our elders because they know better and they are right. But they're only humans and it's possible that they are wrong or they make an error in judgment. So, do you think… So, I'm not talking just in context of parents. It could be political leaders, scientists, experts.
Me also.
Spiritual leaders as well. How do we question them to look beyond their traditional paradigm?
Just the way you're doing it right now.
Without being disrespectful. I understand. But it is possible that they take it as challenging their authority.
How to challenge an elders or political… It's different. I don't think you can really group them up together, especially if you talk about your parents or family that you know. You have to… I mean, it's really weird to say just to disagree with them would be a disrespect. That's kind of odd. I don't know if it's my mindset or maybe the people around us, but I would say that, you know, be reasonable, explain why you're disagreeing, appreciate that they gave their opinion and that they're worried about you or have concerns about you, but just tell them that, you know, this is my life and this is what I choose to do, and obviously I'll suffer the consequences of my actions. I think that's being taken responsibility. And then maybe later on, if you do suffer the consequence of your actions, like, you know what, I should have listened to you, but still, my life, my choice. You know, But yeah, you live and you learn, and you ultimately make the decision, not and no one else does. And you don't have to be disrespectful when you disagree. For authorities and political figures, I mean, protest is the way to go. Peaceful protests, obviously, and do things by the law. Although I will say, I know sometimes that peaceful protest doesn't always work, but I think riots and stuff, it's just working against your cause. So far, I've seen a lot of stupid stuff on the internet about in America and in Europe doing just stupid things. Anyways, it's very difficult to get political stuff involved because you need a lot of people. You have to talk to the public, I guess, convince them to your cause, and to have them, I guess, at least in America, you call your representative saying, hey, we can't have this done. Get as many people to call them up and saying no, and this hopefully will get the message across. Obviously, peaceful is, again, how do you disrespect? I mean, I guess you could be rioting is disrespectful. Peaceful protest is respectful, I suppose.
So, see, respect. You use the word respect. Respect is not something that you ever demand in your life. Please don't ever do such a vulgarity that you demand respect. You can only earn it. You cannot demand it. The moment you demand it, it becomes vulgar. Yes or no? So you stand one step higher than somebody and you demand respect. Or the only stupid thing that you did is you came here a few years earlier than someone else and you demand that I'm senior. It must be happening in the college also. 1 year senior I am, you better respect me. Just 1 year ahead I joined the college and now I'm senior, okay?
I will say, yes, respect is always earned. It is given so someone choose, but you can never, you can ask for it, you can never demand it. Respect is given and it's earned. If you earn it, you're given it.
So, this is an unfortunate reality that's well established in the world, that in the name of religion, in the name of authority, in the name of parenthood, in many different ways, we have been trying to establish authority is the truth. No, authority is not the truth. Truth is the only authority. This is why, youth and truth. Truth is the only authority. Nothing else is the authority. So if I ask a question, somebody freaks. See, if you ask a question, somebody freaks because they don't know the answer. Suppose you go, sit in an examination and look at the question paper, you don't know a damn thing, don't you freak? Just like that they're freaking, why don't you understand? Hello? So they gave you a question paper, you have no clue, do you freak or no? So they are also freaking. So you must understand and be a little compassionate. When you ask a question, somebody freaks means obviously they don't have an answer.
It's really weird he says freaks. In English, or at least in America, freaks and freaking out are two different things. The way he's using the word freak is, and at least the way I would say, it's freaking out. Because freaks is a different word. If you say someone's a freak, that means they're weird, or maybe something wrong with them. And if you say they're freaking out, it means they're going crazy. They're like panicking or something. So I thought I'd throw that out there. It's like whenever he's saying, I'm like, okay, I get it. He meant freaking out. At least in terms of our terminology. I guess is that how it's used over there when you say someone's freak, that they're like panicking, I suppose.
So you must be compassionate, considerate, because they're your seniors. They came ahead of you, but they are no better than you, so they're freaking a bit.
And this is the reason why I've said this in many other videos, is that to always listen to people. It's not to say that you have to listen to their advice completely. Listen to them, take their advice, and then use it whenever you need to. It's never that their advice is always right. It's never to say that their advice is always wrong. You must apply the advice as you need it, or discard it if it's not needed at all. If you think it's a bad advice, then you don't worry about it. But you have to hear them out first, though. Obviously, there are probably going to be some biases where you think someone's advice is never good or anything like that. But generally speaking, you want to hear people out because they could give you a good advice. That advice could help you out later on. It may not help you out now. It may never help you out. You don't know, though. But it's good to hear people out.
Please make way for them a little bit, what to do. They've grown a little bigger than you. But at the same time, there is no need for anybody to succumb to that. It's all right, there is no need to confront people. A question, first of all. See, a question is a tool. A question is a tool to dig little deeper, isn't it? Hello? But somebody is asking a question to prove a point, that's not good. So don't ask a question to your parents or to somebody else just to prove your point. No, ask a question because it's a genuine question. So people were asking me, Sadhguru, what kind of questions can we ask, what can we not ask? I said, even the dumbest question you have, if it means something to you, it means something to me. If it doesn't mean anything to you, don't ask such stupid things because it doesn't mean a damn thing to me either. But if it means something to you, maybe it's a stupid question, somebody thinks it's a stupid question, but it means something to your life, it means a lot to me. So, please make sure your questions are genuine, whether you ask a parent or a political leader or a spiritual leader, it doesn't matter who the hell you ask a question. When you ask a question, you must understand the purpose of asking a question is to expand yourself from what you know to enter a territory where you do not know something. That's the idea of asking a question. But you ask a question to prove them stupid, then maybe they're getting mad. You are entering their territory now. But you have to make sure in your life, because your life is not just about your life. How you conduct your life will determine the nature of this world, isn't it so? When you have such a responsibility, you have to ensure that truth is the only authority. Authority is not the truth. It doesn't matter whether it's parents or teachers or spiritual teachers, political leaders, or God himself came down and he said something stupid. You must be able to question him. That is the nature of this culture. See, even when those entities which we considered divine came, in India all we did is ask questions, endless questions. When Shiva came, his wife Parvati freaks him with 1,000,000 questions. When Krishna came, Arjuna asked 1,000 questions, questions and questions and questions. I must tell you this. We were trekking in Tibet, a group of people, almost from 42 different countries. So an Indian man who settled in United States wanted to ask a question. I said, you can ask questions. Immediately he raised his hand and he stood up. He asked a question which lasted over 8 minutes and it was going on. I said, see, this is too long a question.
Yeah, geez, 8 minutes.
Then I told the others, because they were all looking like this, because they're from different nations, they can't understand this question. I said, see, this is a very Indian question. Question inside a question, inside a question, inside a question, inside a question. Indians are experts in this because they have 15,000 years of culture, they've crafted questions like this. It doesn't matter Shiva comes, Krishna comes, they want to bowl a googly to him. That's the whole intent. So I said, see, this is an Indian question, and I tried to explain to them what is an Indian mind and why it asks such questions. So much of culture. Then one Chinese lady says, Sadhguru, I was working at the United Nations, even there only Indians ask questions. We never ask questions, only the Indians were asking questions all the time. I said, that is India.
To me, that's a good thing. Well, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, ask important questions, but asking questions generally means, hopefully means that you want to understand things. I ask questions. especially in my work. You know, I want to like I'm very kind of precise. So whenever I do things, I want to make sure I know exactly my limitations, what I can and cannot do. So I'll ask questions, and as a matter of fact, we're getting an upgrade in our work, and I want to be there so I can ask questions, like lots of questions. I know my boss kind of gets a little annoyed because I ask too many questions. Only because I need to know for me to function at work with these things, you know? Anyways.
Please.
Oh, okay. Anyways, actually, I'm going to pause it right there just because I'm going to try to keep this kind of short, but at the same time, maybe I talk too much. So anyways, that's going to be part 1 of Sadhguru at Sophia College, Youth and Truth. So if you like my content, please consider subscribing, thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.